The alien school floated above the red clouds of Varus 9, its glass domes glowing like small moons. Inside those domes, voices from dozens of species mixed together. Chirps, hums, and soft words from human mouths. Among all that noise worked a quiet human janitor named Evan Holt. He never talked much. Every morning he arrived before sunrise with his cleaning cart and left long after the last child went home. Evan liked peace. He liked the sound of his broom gliding over smooth tiles and the smell of metal corridors after they were cleaned. In a world where everyone hurried, he was invisible, and he preferred it that way. Yet sometimes he noticed things others ignored. One of those things was a small alien girl named Lyra. She had pale silver skin and hair that looked like soft light. Her eyes were cloudy white, and everyone said she was blind. Teachers whispered about how tragic it was, and students treated her with pity. Lyra moved slowly, her hand always touching the wall or her mother's sleeve. Her mother, Mira, worked at the school library, always staying close to her daughter. Evan often saw them in the hallways. Lyra would smile faintly when she passed by, though she never looked at him directly. Once, when his broom handle slipped from his hand and rolled near her feet, she stopped just before stepping on it. Evan frowned. Strange, he thought. How did she know it was there? He shook it off. Maybe she heard it. Maybe it was luck. But that thought stayed with him. One afternoon, when the school was nearly empty, Evan stayed behind to clean the science lab. Through the glass walls, he saw Lyra sitting alone, waiting for her mother. The lights flickered above her. Varus 9 storms often caused power drops. Evan watched her raise her head. Her eyes, white and cloudy, seemed to follow the lights. For a second, it looked like she saw them. Then she blinked and lowered her face again. He tried to ignore it, but curiosity grew stronger each day. He began to notice tiny things. When someone entered the hallway quietly, she turned her head in their direction before any sound came. When a student tossed a glowing marble across the floor, her hand twitched as if she could see its path. Maybe she senses vibration, Evan muttered to himself one night. Or maybe. He didn't finish the thought. The next day, a strong storm hit the region. Half the school lost power. Emergency lights came on, dim and red. Most students had gone home early, but Mira and Lyra stayed behind because of transport delay. Evan continued cleaning near the entrance. Suddenly, a loud crash echoed from the east wing. He ran there, worried someone got hurt. When he turned the corner, he froze. Lyra stood alone under the flickering lights. A metal frame had fallen from the ceiling, but it stopped mid-air, hovering just inches above her head. Her eyes glowed faintly blue. The lights brightened for a heartbeat, then everything went dark. When the backup lights returned, the frame was on the ground and Lyra stood shaking, eyes dim again. Evan's heart pounded. She looked up toward him, directly at him, and whispered, "Don't tell anyone." Then she turned and walked toward her mother's voice. That night, Evan couldn't sleep. He sat in his small quarters, staring at the glowing city below the clouds. "She's not blind," he whispered. "But what is she?" The next morning he noticed Mira's eyes were red like she had been crying. She thanked him for helping the night before, but avoided his gaze. "Lyra has episodes," she said softly. "It's better if people don't talk about them." Then she walked away quickly. Evan felt torn. He wanted to help, but something told him this secret could be dangerous. As he mopped the hallway, he glanced at Lyra from a distance. She sat near a window, tracing patterns in the air with her finger, shapes that glowed faintly before fading. He had seen energy sensors react to motion before, but not like that. Not from a child. He whispered to himself, "You can see, can't you, kid? Not just light. Something more." A strange chill ran down his spine. Whatever her gift was, it wasn't blindness, it was power. And power, in a school filled with different species and politics, could bring danger faster than truth. Evan decided that day he would find out what was really happening. But carefully. Nobody would believe a janitor. Nobody ever noticed him. Maybe that was an advantage. He put down his mop and looked at the reflection of his face in the bucket's water. "All right, Evan," he muttered. "Time to clean more than floors." And outside, in the long corridor of the alien school, the little blind girl walked quietly, her pale eyes glowing faintly with every flicker of light. Unseen, but not unseen enough. The next day began like any other. Evan arrived early at the alien school, pushing his cleaning cart through the empty corridors. Outside, the storms over Varus 9 had passed, leaving behind silver clouds and the soft hum of the floating generators. The hallway smelled of new metal and ozone. Everything seemed calm, but inside Evan's mind, nothing was calm. He couldn't forget what he saw last night, the falling frame, the glowing eyes, the voice that said, "Don't tell anyone." It played again and again in his head. He had cleaned these halls for 5 years, and thought he had seen everything strange the galaxy could offer. But this was different. When classes started, Evan noticed Lyra again. She sat near the back, her cloudy eyes pointed at the desk, her hands folded neatly. The teacher spoke about planetary systems, showing bright holograms spinning across the room. Evan was changing air filters near the door, pretending not to look, but he was watching closely. As the holograms moved, he saw her face lift slightly. When the lights dimmed, her eyes seemed to shimmer faintly. The blue glow was almost invisible, like starlight beneath the surface of a lake. The teacher asked, "Lyra, can you describe what you feel when these stars move?" Everyone expected silence. But Lyra said softly, "The red one hums, slower than the others." The class froze. The teacher smiled awkwardly. "That's interesting, dear." She thought Lyra was imagining sounds. But Evan knew that hum was real. The hologram's red projection had a slow pulse frequency. Lyra shouldn't have known that. Later that day, Evan stayed to clean after classes. He found a small toy on the floor, a glowing marble that students used for energy games. He picked it up, rolled it gently across the hallway. The marble glowed brighter as it rolled near Lyra's locker. To his shock, Lyra's head turned. Her eyes followed the glowing ball perfectly until it hit the wall. She quickly looked down again, pretending nothing happened. Evan's pulse quickened. "So it wasn't my imagination," he whispered. "She can see light. Maybe more than light." That evening, when most people had left, Lyra came back with her mother. Mira was talking to a teacher in another room. Lyra wandered into the corridor alone, quiet and careful. Evan was fixing a broken lamp near the corner, half hidden in shadows. He didn't speak at first. He only dropped his flashlight, on purpose this time. It rolled across the floor, spinning and glowing. Lyra froze. Then, as the flashlight's beam crossed the wall, her eyes flicked toward it. Just a tiny movement, but enough. Evan slowly bent down and said gently, "You saw that, didn't you?" She didn't answer. Her small hands gripped the edge of the wall. "I'm not supposed to see," she whispered. "Why?" Evan asked softly. "Who told you that?" "My mom," she said. "If they find out, they'll take me away again." "Again?" Evan repeated, confused. Before she could answer, Mira appeared, her face pale. "Lyra, what are you doing here?" She pulled the girl close. Her eyes met Evan's for a moment, sharp, warning, afraid. "Thank you, Mr. Holt, but please, stay away from my daughter after hours." Evan nodded slowly. "Of course, ma'am." They left quickly, their footsteps echoing through the quiet hall. Evan stood there for a long time, feeling torn between curiosity and guilt. He wasn't trying to hurt them. But something about that girl, it felt important. Bigger than just a secret. That night, Evan couldn't sleep again. He sat by his small window, watching the storm lightning flash beyond the city domes. He wondered what Mira meant by "take her away again." Who were they? Why would anyone take a child because she could see differently? He remembered the way Lyra's eyes glowed like small suns hidden behind clouds. Maybe her vision wasn't blindness. It was something far more advanced. Maybe she didn't see light at all, but energy. The next morning, he returned to work early again. He wanted to test one thing. In the library hallway, he placed a small cleaning drone behind a stack of books. The drone had no sound, but it emitted a faint energy pulse when activated. When Lyra passed by, she paused mid-step. Her head tilted toward the hidden drone, her fingers twitching slightly. Then she smiled like she could feel its presence. Evan's suspicion turned to certainty. She could sense electromagnetic fields, the heartbeat of machines, the light humans couldn't see. But that meant one thing. Someone had hidden her gift deliberately. Someone powerful didn't want her discovered. As Evan packed up his cleaning tools, he looked around the quiet hallway. Cameras watched from every corner, blinking red. The school belonged to the Interspecies Education Bureau, an organization known for protecting unusual children by taking them for study. He shivered. Maybe Mira was right to hide her daughter. Maybe the truth wasn't safe at all. He took one last look toward the library door. Inside, Lyra turned her face toward the glass wall where sunlight danced through the storm clouds. For just a heartbeat, her eyes flashed bright blue again, and Evan knew this was only the beginning. The morning began with the faint hum of storm shields above the alien school, a low vibration that always made the walls tremble slightly. Evan walked through the corridor with his mop and cart, but his thoughts were far away. The more he tried to forget the glowing eyes of the alien girl, the more her image returned, Lyra standing in that dim hallway whispering, "I'm not supposed to see." Something inside him refused to let it go. He wasn't a teacher, scientist, or investigator, just a janitor. But he couldn't ignore the truth that kept haunting him. Lyra was special, and her mother was hiding something. That day he noticed Mira acting differently. Normally calm and polite, she now seemed tense. Her smile was thin, her eyes constantly watching the corners of the room as if someone might be listening. When she walked, she held Lyra's hand tighter than before. Evan saw them again at noon, sitting in the cafeteria. Mira barely ate. Her eyes darted between the doors. Lyra, quiet as always, seemed distant, her head tilted slightly as if hearing sounds no one else could. Evan tried to look away, but the feeling of worry in Mira's face burned into his thoughts. Later, when the students had gone and the halls were nearly empty, he found her in the library alone, shelving books with nervous hands. The smell of old paper and metal filled the air. "Mira," he said quietly. She flinched, almost dropping a book. When she turned, her eyes were red and tired. "Mr. Holt, you shouldn't be here." "I'm just cleaning," he said softly, "but I wanted to ask, is Lyra okay?" Mira froze. "Why are you asking that?" Evan hesitated. "Because I saw something that doesn't make sense. She's not blind, is she?" Her breath caught. For a long time, she said nothing. Then she put the book down slowly and whispered, "Please don't talk about this here." She looked up at the ceiling where a small red light blinked, the surveillance lens. "Walk with me." They stepped out into the side corridor where the walls were dark and the cameras didn't reach. The storm outside rumbled softly through the shield. Mira folded her arms. "You shouldn't have seen anything," she said in a low voice. "Lyra was born during the Solara War. My people were used for experiments. Vision enhancements, they called them. Some children develop the ability to see things others can't. Energy, radiation, even emotions through light patterns. The Bureau called them anomalies." Evan frowned. "And the Bureau would take them?" Her voice shook. "They did. For research. None of them ever came back. When Lyra was born, I told everyone she was blind so they'd leave her alone." She pressed a trembling hand to her face. "It worked until now." Evan's stomach turned cold. "You mean if anyone finds out, they'll take her? They'll lock her in a lab and call it protection?" He wanted to say something comforting, but there was none. The fear in Mira's voice was real. At that moment, a distant sound echoed through the hall. The soft clicking of metal boots. Mira's body went rigid. "That's the inspector," she whispered. "He's been coming every week." Evan peeked around the corner. A tall alien in a dark uniform walked slowly past, a scanning device glowing in his hand. The air around him felt colder. His eyes swept across every corridor like lasers. Mira pulled back quickly, clutching her chest. "He suspects something. Last week he asked about the power surges. He knows a child is behind them." Evan clenched his fists. "You can't let him near her." "I try," she said. "But I can't hide her forever." Her voice cracked. She looked at him, desperate. "You're human. They don't question you. Please, if he ever comes near her, say she's harmless. Say she's weak, normal, anything." Evan nodded. "You have my word." Her eyes filled with tears. "Thank you. You don't know what this means." As they parted ways, Evan noticed something on the wall. A new camera, small and black, freshly installed. Someone was watching closer now. That night, as he cleaned the empty corridors, he heard faint footsteps again. It was Lyra. She was walking slowly, her hand tracing the wall. He approached carefully. "Lyra?" She turned toward him, eyes glowing faintly blue in the dim light. "They're coming soon," she said softly. He frowned. "Who?" "The ones who look through light," she whispered. "I can see their machines searching." Evan's skin prickled. He looked up and saw a small drone moving silently near the ceiling, scanning, recording. He quickly switched off his cleaning light and grabbed a blanket from his cart, covering the reflective surfaces. "Go back to your mother," he whispered. "Now." She nodded and ran quietly toward the library. As the drone floated away, Evan exhaled shakily. He looked at the ceiling again and muttered, "They're already here." For the first time, he realized this wasn't just about a little girl's secret. It was a battle between fear and compassion, a battle only someone invisible like him could fight. Outside, lightning flashed through the red clouds, and Evan knew the calm days of quiet cleaning were over. The truth was now alive, moving through the hallways, and sooner or later it would be exposed. The following morning, the air in the alien school felt heavy, like the calm before a storm. Students whispered about inspectors, about strange devices being placed around the building, but no one dared to ask questions. Only Evan walked those halls with quiet purpose, his broom in one hand, his eyes scanning every corner for signs of trouble. He noticed it immediately. Tiny silver sensors newly fixed above doorways, blinking in rhythm. He knew what they meant. Surveillance had doubled. Someone wanted to detect energy disturbances, and that meant they were searching for Lyra. In the library, Mira worked silently, trying to act normal. Lyra sat in a corner pretending to read a tactile book for the blind. Her cloudy eyes looked peaceful, but Evan saw her fingers trembling slightly. She could feel it too, the searching eyes of the machines. Evan walked in, pretending to mop the floor. He caught Mira's anxious glance and gave her a small nod. She understood his message. "I'll keep watch." After everyone left for the day, Evan stayed behind again. He had one goal: to find out exactly what Lyra could do. Not to expose her, but to understand it, so he could protect her better. He hid near the power room, knowing the school's energy grid always flickered when she was nearby. Hours passed in silence until he heard soft footsteps. Lyra entered, holding a small glowing cube. The cube was an energy toy used in physics class, but in her hands it shone brighter. She looked around carefully and whispered, "I know you're there, Mr. Holt." Evan stepped out slowly, his face calm. "You felt me?" She smiled faintly. "I can see your energy. It's warm and quiet." He crouched down so his eyes met hers. "Lyra, what happened the night the metal frame almost hit you?" She hesitated, then whispered, "It wasn't me who stopped it. It was the light inside me. It moves when I get scared." Evan's voice softened. "The light inside you?" Lyra nodded. "Mama said not to use it, but sometimes it listens to me." She held up the cube again. The glow grew brighter, filling the dark room with a soft blue shimmer. The air around them hummed gently, and the tools on the shelves began to vibrate. Evan's eyes widened. "You're controlling the machines." Her voice was tiny. "I don't mean to. They just listen when I'm afraid or sad." For a moment, the beauty of it silenced him. She wasn't dangerous, she was extraordinary. But the world outside would never see her that way. Suddenly, the school lights flickered. A sharp alarm beeped once, then stopped. Lyra's glow faded instantly. "What was that?" Evan whispered, her expression turned fearful. They found the signal. Without warning, the door to the power room slid open. A mechanical drone hovered in the frame, red sensors flashing. It began scanning the room. "Hide," Evan said quickly. He pushed Lyra behind a cabinet and stepped forward, pretending to inspect a bucket. The drone floated closer, scanning his tools. Then his face, he smiled weakly and said, "Just cleaning up, officer." After a tense moment, the drone buzzed and flew away. When the hum faded, Lyra peeked out, tears in her glowing eyes. "They saw it. They'll come now." Evan knelt beside her. "Then we'll make sure they find nothing. Understand?" She nodded weakly. That night he worked longer than ever, disconnecting the nearest energy sensors, blaming it on maintenance errors. Every time the school lights dimmed, he worried someone might trace her again. Later, he went to the rooftop balcony where Mira waited, her cloak wrapped tightly. The sky above Varus 9 was red and gold from lightning storms. She used her power again, he said quietly, but only to protect herself. Mira's eyes closed in pain. "I told her never to. Every time she glows, they sense her. You can't imagine what they'll do if they catch her, Mr. Holt." He sighed. "Maybe hiding isn't enough anymore. Maybe we need to understand it before they twist it into something dark." Mira shook her head. "Understanding won't save us. Fear controls this world, not reason." Evan leaned on the railing, watching the glowing sky. "Then maybe fear needs someone ordinary to stand against it." She looked at him, puzzled. You'd risk your life for her? For us, he smiled sadly. Maybe I already have. Thunder rolled across the clouds. Somewhere in the distance, he could see a bureau ship gliding toward the city. Inside the school, unnoticed by all, Lyra sat by her window. Her small hands glowed as she drew circles of light in the air, shapes that formed into tiny floating stars. They drifted around her room, and she whispered to them as if they were friends. For a moment, the fear in her heart faded, replaced by quiet wonder. She didn't know that her power had just been detected again, far across the city, her name flashing on a bureau screen as an energy anomaly, level unknown. The storm outside grew louder. Evan looked toward the horizon and felt the truth deep in his bones. Something bigger than any of them was coming. The time for cleaning secrets was ending. The time for facing them had begun. The next morning, Varus 9's skies burned with stormlight. Lightning danced over the floating city, and thunder rolled through the domes of the alien school. The atmosphere felt tense, almost electric. Evan arrived early, but the halls were no longer calm. Strange officers in gray uniforms walked briskly between classrooms, scanning walls and whispering into small metallic devices. He recognized their insignia, the Bureau of Interspecies Control. His stomach sank. They're here for her. Inside the library, Mira's hands trembled as she arranged books no one was reading. Lyra sat quietly, head bowed, pretending to trace letters she couldn't see. The hum of the sensors was louder than usual. They pulsed with energy, seeking something hidden. Evan entered with his mop bucket, trying to look casual. "Morning," he said softly. Mira gave a tiny nod but didn't look up. Her lips moved soundlessly. They know. Evan's pulse quickened. 2 bureau agents appeared near the library door, tall and cold-eyed. One of them held a datapad showing flickering graphs. "Energy signature registered here last night," he said. "It came from this section." Evan froze. The signal, they had traced the glow from Lyra's power the night before. He forced a friendly smile. "Oh, that's just me. I ran a cleaning drone late last night. Faulty battery, maybe." The agent eyed him for a long moment. "You?" "Yes, sir," Evan said calmly. "Human janitor. Not the brightest model, but I clean well." The alien stared at him, uncertain whether to laugh or suspect. Finally, he said, "Stay out of our way." Then both agents moved on to scan the next corridor. When they were gone, Mira whispered, "You shouldn't have done that." "I had to," Evan said. "They're tracking her." Mira sank into a chair, her eyes full of despair. "They will keep coming until they find proof." Evan looked toward Lyra, who was now quietly playing with her small cube again. The light within it pulsed softly like a heartbeat. "Then maybe it's time we control what they find." That night after the school closed, Evan stayed behind. He planned to disable the new sensors. As he worked, Mira brought Lyra to him secretly through the back entrance. The girl clung to her mother's hand, frightened. "They're scanning everywhere," Mira whispered, "even my quarters." Evan nodded. "I'll hide her. There's a maintenance room under the floor. It's off the grid." They moved quickly. Evan lifted a metal hatch behind the cleaning supply shelves and guided them down a narrow stairway, lit by blue emergency lights. The small chamber below was warm and quiet, filled with old machines and wires. Lyra looked around curiously. "It feels alive here," she said softly. "It's just the generators humming," Evan replied. She shook her head. "No, they're talking." Evan smiled faintly, trying to comfort her. "Then tell them to keep quiet for tonight." He didn't know how literal her words were until moments later. When the Bureau's patrol drones entered the upper hallway, all the lights flickered. Lyra's eyes glowed faintly in response, and the hum of the generators deepened. Evan's watch beeped, a power surge alert. "Lyra, stop, you're drawing attention." "I can't," she whispered. "They're listening for me." Suddenly, one of the drones outside beeped loudly and started descending toward their section. Evan's heart raced. He grabbed a metal panel and used it to cover the hatch above them. The drone scanned through the crack of light, projecting red beams. In that instant, Lyra reached out and placed her small glowing hand against the metal wall. The red light bent and disappeared. The drone hovered uncertainly, then turned and flew away. Silence returned. Evan exhaled in disbelief. "You stopped its scan?" Lyra lowered her hand. "I told it there was nothing here." Mira sank to her knees and hugged her daughter tightly. "You saved us." But Evan knew what that meant. The Bureau's system would detect the missing data. They'd know someone tampered with the scan. He looked up toward the ceiling, jaw tight. They'll come back harder. When dawn came, the school was crawling with agents. Rumors spread that an energy hacker was inside. The Bureau ordered all students to line up for inspection. Evan stood in the hallway, sweat gathering at his neck, watching as they scanned each child. When it was Lyra's turn, the scanner blinked red, then froze. The agent frowned. Device malfunction. He reset it again. Same result. Blank signal, no data. "Impossible," he muttered. Evan saw it then. A soft blue shimmer in the air around Lyra, faint like mist. She was shielding herself without even realizing it. The inspector glared at Mira. "Your daughter will come with us for further testing." "No," Mira stepped forward, voice breaking. "She's just a child." The man raised his wrist communicator. "Level 3 anomaly confirmed. Prepare transport." But before he finished, every light in the corridor exploded into brightness. The scanners shorted out, sparks flying. Children screamed. Energy surged through the walls like a living wave. Lyra stood trembling, her eyes blazing blue. Evan shouted over the noise. "Lyra, stop!" Her voice came small but clear. "I don't want to hurt anyone." Then, silence. The lights dimmed. Every device flickered and died. The Bureau agents stared at their broken scanners in confusion. One barked, "Systems offline, we're leaving." They rushed out, cursing, unable to explain what just happened. When they were gone, Mira collapsed in tears. Evan helped her up, his hands shaking. "They'll regroup soon. We need to move her." Mira nodded. "But where?" He looked toward the maintenance tunnels under the school, then toward the glowing skies of Varus 9. "Somewhere they can't see light," he said. As they left quietly through the back corridor, Evan felt both fear and awe. The blind girl had just outsmarted the most powerful scanners in the galaxy. And though the danger was far from over, one thing was certain. Her secret wasn't hidden anymore. It was alive, powerful, and ready to change everything. Night fell heavy over Varus 9, painting the floating city in red shadows and silver rain. The school, usually quiet after hours, was alive with whispers, footsteps, and the cold hum of scanning drones. The Bureau had locked down every exit. Their officers claimed it was a safety measure, but everyone knew the truth. They were hunting the anomaly. Inside the dim maintenance tunnels beneath the school, Evan, Mira, and little Lyra sat in silence. The air smelled of dust and old oil. Pipes hissed softly, carrying the energy that powered the domes above. Lyra rested her head against her mother's shoulder, her pale skin glowing faintly in the dark. Evan checked the access monitor he had stolen from the janitor's station. "They've sealed the north wing," he whispered. "We're trapped unless we go through the generator room." Mira looked terrified. "That's suicide. The energy fields there could burn her." "She's stronger than you think," Evan said quietly, glancing at Lyra. "She already blocked a Bureau scan with her mind." Lyra looked up at him. "I didn't mean to. I just wanted them to stop hurting Mama." Evan smiled gently. "You did good, kid. But now we need your help again." Outside, thunder shook the walls. The storm above Varus 9 seemed to echo the chaos below. Alarms began to wail through the hallways, short, sharp beeps that meant one thing: containment breach. The Bureau had discovered their escape. Mira grabbed Lyra's hand. "We have to go." Evan led the way through the narrow tunnel, stepping over puddles of oily water. Each turn felt tighter, each sound sharper. He could hear the metallic footsteps of drones closing in from behind. When they reached the generator chamber, the air was alive with power. Blue energy lines pulsed along the walls, humming like a heartbeat. The entire floor vibrated with contained lightning. Evan stopped at the railing. "We cross here and reach the south hatch. It's our only chance." Mira shook her head. "The energy currents will kill us." Before he could answer, Lyra stepped forward. "No, it's singing to me." Her eyes began to glow, bright, steady, almost serene. The energy lines pulsed in rhythm with her heartbeat. "Lyra, don't," Mira started, but Evan stopped her. "Wait, let her try." The little girl reached out her hand. The blue current that could destroy metal curved gently toward her fingers like a tame river meeting its source. She smiled faintly. "It knows me." With each step she took, the glowing pathways rearranged, forming a bridge of light across the chamber. The energy beneath her feet shimmered but didn't burn. Evan and Mira followed carefully, their eyes wide in disbelief. For a moment, it felt like walking across a living star. When they reached the other side, Lyra's glow dimmed. She stumbled, and Evan caught her before she fell. "You did it," he whispered. But the relief was short-lived. The doors behind them burst open with a hiss of steam. Bureau officers poured in, their weapons glowing red. "Stop right there," one shouted. "Step away from the child." Mira pulled Lyra close, trembling. Evan stood in front of them, his mop handle clutched like a staff. "You're not taking her," the lead officer sneered. "You think you can stop the bureau janitor?" Evan's voice was calm, but firm. "You're not arresting a criminal. You're hunting a child. An energy anomaly," the officer corrected coldly. "She's a threat." Lyra whimpered softly. "I don't want to hurt anyone." "Then don't," Evan said, glancing back at her. "Show them who you really are." She took a deep breath. Her eyes blazed open, glowing brighter than ever. The air filled with a soft hum, then every weapon in the room flickered and shut down. The officers froze as their scanners melted in their hands. The lights dimmed, and a wave of warmth spread through the chamber. The blue energy flowing through the generator walls pulsed like a heartbeat connected to hers. Evan's voice echoed softly. "She's not destroying anything. She's healing it." The officers looked around as the machine stabilized. Alarms went silent. Systems that had been unstable for years suddenly balanced perfectly. But the leader still raised his voice. "She's manipulating the grid." "That's dangerous." Evan shook his head. "That's life. That's what your sensors call danger, because you can't control it." Before the officer could respond, the power lines above them glowed with a golden light. The emergency siren stopped completely. The Bureau's communication links went offline across the network. Lyra's soft voice broke the silence. "No one has to be afraid anymore." Then she fainted. Mira rushed to catch her, tears falling freely. "She's just a child," she whispered to the stunned officers. "Look at what your fear has done." The room remained quiet. No one moved. The once hostile energy of the generator hummed softly, peaceful now. Finally, the lead officer lowered his weapon. "We'll report this," he said. "But the decision won't be ours." Evan stepped forward. "Then tell them the truth, that a human janitor saw a little girl save your lives." The man said nothing, only turned and left. The others followed, their boots echoing through the silent corridor. Mira held her daughter tightly, whispering words of comfort. Evan looked at them both, knowing this wasn't the end, just the eye of the storm. The Bureau would return. The world would learn, and when they did, nothing would ever be the same again. Above the city, thunder rolled one last time, and for a moment, the lightning painted the clouds gold, like the universe itself was bowing before the truth. The dawn over Varus 9 came quietly that day. For the first time in weeks, there were no alarms, no sirens echoing through the floating city. The crimson clouds that usually carried lightning drifted gently, glowing soft gold under the rising twin suns. Yet inside the alien school, silence didn't mean peace, it meant fear of what would come next. Evan sat in the infirmary beside Lyra's bed. The little girl lay still, her eyes closed, faint blue light pulsing gently beneath her skin like a heartbeat made of starlight. Her mother Mira sat on the other side, her hands trembling as she brushed Lyra's hair. She had barely spoken since the Bureau's raid. "Her energy readings are stable," Evan whispered. She just needs rest. Mira's eyes were red from crying. They'll come back. They always do. Then we'll be ready this time, he said quietly. But even as he said it, he wasn't sure how. Outside the window, bureau ships hovered in the sky, scanning the city. News feeds buzzed across holoscreens. Energy anomaly detected in Varus 9 school. Human worker implicated in alien child event. Council demands immediate investigation. Evan sighed. They already made her sound like a weapon. Mira's voice cracked. That's what they always do when they don't understand something. Suddenly, Lyra's hand twitched. Her eyes opened slowly, glowing but softer than before. Mama! Mira leaned forward instantly. I'm here, sweetheart. Lyra blinked at Evan, then smiled faintly. You didn't let them take me. Not then, not ever, Evan said with a small grin. But you gave us quite a scare. I heard them, she whispered. Even when I was sleeping. The machines were shouting. They didn't know what to call me. Mira frowned. What do you mean? They called me error. Evan's heart ached. You're not an error, kid. You're the best thing that's ever happened to this place. Before anyone could speak again, the infirmary door hissed open. 3 council officials entered. 2 aliens in silver robes and 1 tall human in a dark suit. The air grew colder instantly. Ms. Mira Venn, Mr. Evan Holt, said the human in a formal tone. You are summoned to an emergency council hearing. Mira rose slowly, clutching her daughter's hand. And if I refuse? Then we will assume guilt and take custody of the child immediately. Evan stepped between them. If you're putting anyone on trial, you put me first. I'm the one who hit her. The alien official narrowed his eyes. You endangered hundreds of lives by concealing an unregistered anomaly. Evan's voice sharpened. And she saved hundreds by stopping your generators from exploding. You didn't see that part on your data screens, did you? The official hesitated, glancing at the human beside him. There was no answer. Mira took a deep breath. We'll go, but you'll hear the truth, from all of us. The council hall was massive, glowing with white crystal walls that reflected every sound. Crowds gathered behind energy barriers, students, teachers, reporters, and strangers from every corner of Varus 9. In the center stood a small platform with 3 figures, a janitor, an alien mother, and her tiny daughter whose eyes shimmered like twin moons. A voice echoed from above. We convene to decide whether the child known as Lyra Venn represents a danger to the peace of the colonies. Evan stepped forward before anyone else could speak. She represents hope, not danger. Whispers filled the hall. The council leader tilted his head. A human janitor speaks for an anomaly? I don't speak for her, Evan said. I speak because of her. Because she showed me that blindness isn't when you can't see. It's when you refuse to look. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Mira held Lyra's hand tighter. The council projected holographic footage from the previous night. Lyra's eyes blazing, power flowing through the walls, drones shutting down. But what came next shocked everyone. The footage didn't end with destruction. It showed the system stabilizing, energy surges balancing, lights returning to normal. The leader frowned. This contradicts our report. It contradicts your fear, Evan said firmly. You call her a weapon because you only understand war. But she heals machines, not breaks them. She listens to the light itself. If that's danger, then maybe the galaxy needs more of it. For a moment, silence. Then a murmur grew among the crowd. Agreement, curiosity, awe. The human official cleared his throat. We must still ensure her safety, and that of others. Mira stepped forward, her voice trembling but clear. You can test her all you want, but do it with eyes open. Don't hide your cruelty behind science. Don't turn her gift into fear. Lyra squeezed her hand and whispered, Mama, it's okay. They can see now. Her glow spread gently across the platform. The light reached the council walls, illuminating symbols hidden for centuries, ancient markings that represented unity between species. The crowd gasped. The hall filled with warmth. The council members stood frozen, bathed in the soft blue light of a child's truth. Finally, the leader spoke softly, almost humbled. This child is no anomaly. She is evolution. The chamber erupted in applause. Some wept openly. Mira fell to her knees, tears shining. Evan smiled faintly, exhaustion and relief flooding through him. As they left the hall, Lyra looked up at him. Does this mean we can stay? He chuckled. It means they'll think twice before chasing you again. She tilted her head, smiling softly. You always saw me even when no one else did. Evan ruffled her hair. Guess that makes two of us who aren't blind anymore. Outside, the twin suns rose higher, their light spreading over the city's domes. For the first time, Varus 9 didn't look divided. It looked alive. Machines hummed gently, tuned perfectly to the rhythm of the little girl's power. The janitor walked away with the alien mother and her glowing daughter, disappearing into the golden light. Somewhere deep in the city's heart, the Bureau's scanners flickered again, but this time the readings were calm, balanced, peaceful, because the truth wasn't hidden anymore. It was shining for everyone to see.